Hey everybody, it's Thursday. It means it's time for your Thursday Thought, and I put a video out a couple of weeks ago that I just want to quickly recap and then introduce my guest here. But I put a video out a couple of weeks ago that talked about kind of the shortage of inventory on a national level. And the general consensus is that we need to build about 1 million homes a year to keep up with demand, and that really from the Great Recession moving on, there were many, many years where we were only building a few 100,000 homes. And so over the past 10 or 11 years, we're 3.6 million homes short. That would be, 7, 8, 9 years old now. And so I brought a local builder in here. So I'm going to let him introduce himself, and we'll talk about the local market here in Colorado Springs. So go ahead.
I'm Mark Long. I'm the managing director of Vanguard Homes. I have been building here in Colorado Springs since 1995 and actually started building homes for my dad down in Texas in the late 70s.
Cool. So kind of going off of those numbers, 2005, 6, whatever those are, where we were building just tons of homes, and that drastic drop off in 2006, 7, and the nation being short millions of homes. Was that a similar trend here in the Pikes Peak region?
Yeah, absolutely. I think if anything, the trend has been even more dramatic, more amplified. Colorado Springs was getting a little overbuilt in the mid-2000s, and when the Great Recession hit, it hit us pretty hard. I would tell you we have come back, and if anything, I believe we're building at a greater rate than the nation as a whole and even Denver right now.
You shared some numbers with me earlier that prior to 2008, what were some of the permits, the annual that we pulled here?
So rough numbers, 2005, Colorado Springs pulled approximately 5,500 permits for single-family homes. That bottomed in 2008, 2009 to less than 1,900 or so.
So 80% drop.
80% drop. And we, last year, I'm probably not going to get this right, but I think we were 4,800 permits. So we're still not actually back to that 2005 number. We're pretty much on track to hit that this year. Of course, it's early and that remains to be seen.
I saw two numbers that came out from the Pikes Peak Building Department and I think this was for January's number, but 423 building permits were pulled, which was up 21% over February of last year.
Absolutely correct.
And then I think in February, I forget what the number was, but it was like a 50% increase from last year. So the builders are
monstrous.
The builders are building as fast as they can.
That is absolutely true. We are running and gunning. We are hitting on all 8 cylinders, about 6,000 RPMs.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's still kind of, even though we had overbuilt prior to the Great Recession, obviously that inventory has been consumed.
Gone.
We went through, it sounds like maybe 5 or 6 years at that plateau, that 80% down, maybe 4 years, whatever it was.
Something like that.
And then now we're slowly building our way back to what we would consider the proper amount of inventory.
Right. I'd say we've been in a really healthy market since somewhere around 2015 or 2016, and then of course the irony of last year's events with the plague and whatnot is everyone thought that would presage a housing recession, and the opposite happened. Our numbers actually went up again.
I think a lot of people that I've talked to in the industry, crazy. It's both the volume and everything else is good years, right?
No doubt.
It was crazy. When you meet with your other builder associates, do you guys project into the future and say, well, when do the builders build enough to kind of meet up with the demand? Is that 1 year out, 5 years out?
That's a constant conversation, and no one has the answer. And
no one has that crystal ball.
Everyone has different opinions. The more conservative guys say we're topped out, and you can expect 5 to 10% contraction. I was just in Savannah, Georgia, last week in a Builder 20 meeting, which is 20 builders from all across the nation, and I'm in this group. And that was kind of the general consensus. Now, I think that's them and we're us. I think Colorado Springs has a lot more things going for it. I think the population growth here is sustainable and it's real. It's going to continue. So no way of knowing if we'll have a dip this year or next, but I think the trend line is going to remain upward.
Okay. So, hey, Mark, I appreciate you taking the time to kind of share your perception as a builder, and just kind of crazy. And again, I'll just one last piece of information is that nationally, what I heard recently was that there's about 3 months supply of inventory. They say that 6 months is a healthy market, so that's why we're seeing this continue to be a seller's market. But then locally, I think in the Pikes Peak region, we have less than a month supply.
That's my understanding.
And how about on your build side? I mean, do you have buyers out the door, a line around the corner, around the block?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would love to have that visual, but the reality is the buyers know that, you know, we don't have a lot to sell. I mean, we get lots and we put houses under contract. Our spec inventory has been problematic from the buyer's perspective because they don't make it all the way. They don't make it to complete homes anymore. And they've generally been bought at either permit or foundation stage. We're actually thinking about just holding some back and not putting them on the market until they're nearly closed, just to kind of better serve the needs of the buying public.
Yeah, makes sense. Crazy market we're in. Thanks everybody for tuning into this week's Thursday Thought, and we'll see you next week on next week's Thursday Thought.
Thank you.
See ya.